Welcome, coaches. All right. So as the uh interview says, as am fixing to go live with retired NFL quarterback JT O'Sullivan. I am going to get him on right now. Here we go. Invite, copy. Let me send it to him. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. All right, let me grab this. Copy here. Tweet this out. All right, just working some things. You there, Coach?
Tommy?
Yeah, man.
All right.
How's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I appreciate you coming on and talking some ball with us.
I'm excited.
All right, we already got some coaches coming in. Coach WB and Coach Robinson from Texas watching. I tweeted it out and everything. Coaches, if you haven't already, is it okay if I call you Coach O'Sullivan?
It's JT, man.
JT, I'm so used to it because you do coach, don't you?
I do coach, but I'm still not used to being called coach. So
how long have you been a coach?
This was my first year.
Really? How did that go?
It was good. It was an experience. We're building.
I hear you. Okay. So JT, that's weird me calling you that, just like me calling you coach. So do you have your players call you JT, or is it Coach JT?
It's honestly whatever they want. Like I've had a handful of. I think I told them in the first meeting, you can call me JT, Coach O'Sullivan, Dr. O'Sullivan. I answer to just the other thing I answer to is "Oh Captain, my Captain." If you know what movie that's from.
Yes, man. God, Robin With My Mind's Dead Poet Society.
Yeah, man, that's a good one.
Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. I love that movie. All right, well, PhD. Okay, when coaches are coming in, I just wanted to. What'd you get your PhD in?
The program is leadership studies, but
Okay.
Essentially any PhD is it's through the School of Education out here at the University of San Diego. So it was great for me. The league does a pretty cool thing where they pay for you to go back to school for a certain stipend. So it's kind of silly if you don't take advantage of it.
Oh, that is awesome. That is freaking awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into this. So first thing, JT, sorry, I will call you coach. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there. Not on purpose. It's just going to happen. For those coaches that are coming in, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to play in the league as a quarterback for almost a decade, bounced around, and so much so that NFL Films actually came out and did a thing about how many teams I played for. I ended up playing for 11 teams, which was really cool, actually, because I love NFL Films, not because I thought it was a great thing. Yeah. It was like, that's my childhood growing up with like NFL Films, right? And so played for 11 teams, bounced around a lot, got cut, 7-8 times, went to NFL Europe twice, finished my career in Canada. And so it was a great experience. And I was a Division II student athlete, no scholarships coming out of high school, and just kind of kept playing. Really, I didn't aspire to be a professional athlete. In fact, I went to Davis, small Division II school in Northern California.
Okay.
And it kind of has a pedigree for coaches. And so I went there thinking I was going to probably coach. And so the more I played, honestly, the less I wanted to coach. And so.
Okay. So why is that?
It's just the lifestyle of it. It's one thing to get cut and move when you're in your 20s and, you're making good money. But when you have a family and, you don't necessarily spend as much time as you want, depending on what level you're at with your family, I just saw it kind of tear people apart. And it wasn't the life that I was looking to live when I got to this stage of my life. And so it made it a really easy choice. And then this high school thing, I just wanted to kind of football meant so much to me, right? It was like a trampoline in my life. And so I felt this kind of void after I got done with school. School kind of was the bridge for me from playing to whatever's next. And so I got done with school. I'm like, man, I have all this time. Like, what am I going to do? And so I applied to a couple jobs in San Diego and got one. And it's been fun ever since.
So is that irony that you didn't want to coach and now you are coaching, or is that a coincidence? I always get those two
Well,
confused.
yeah, I mean, I guess I should say I don't want to coach,
Gotcha.
Division
I know.
One.
Yeah.
This is more. I think of it as, I know it's full-time job for many people, but it's part-time out in California. I'm not on campus. I'm not teaching. It's an opportunity for me to give back to the game that I really love, and kind of help put me on a different path as far as what my life has turned into, as with football and everything else. And so, plus it's an opportunity to teach and educate through this game, and that's really what I'm looking for, just making an impact.
Okay. Well, circling back to did you have NFL aspirations at all? Or was it just like, oh, after you were playing, you're like, I'm going to try out. And then you just kept succeeding everywhere you went. How'd that work out?
The guy who played ahead of me the first 2 years I was in college ended up getting drafted in round 5, Kevin Daft, by the Titans. And so I always thought he was a really good player. I thought I should have been playing, but I was like, when he got drafted, I was like, oh, like, I guess you can. And there's been a handful of guys to come out of Davis, especially at the quarterback position. So I knew I might be able to do something. But then I remember after my junior year, my coach came up and said, hey, you graded out as a mid-round draft pick. And I was like, I didn't even know, I was ignorant to the process. I was like, I didn't know that they did that. I was just finishing my junior year of college, and they're like, you got a chance, you need to think about taking out an insurance policy and all these things. And I was like,
wow.
I'm just, we were non-scholarship. We had fun. I was playing with some of my best friends. It wasn't like I was trying to, like, think about who my agent's going to be or anything at that point. And so then I just kept playing, and I just felt like every time I got cut, I got more pissed, and just kind of been like, well, I'm going to stick it to these cats. I know I can play. And so you just keep fighting and keep clawing. And then you end up kind of building a reputation as someone who can come in and be a professional and service a team and be that guy. And so that's what all of a sudden 2 years turns into 6 years, turns into 10 years. And that's kind of how it happened for me.
That's awesome. And I like what you said, how you kept doing it and you got pissed off and you wanted to prove them wrong.
Oh yeah.
I think that's something I wish, and maybe you could help me out on this. I want to teach kids that more, because I've been coaching for 10 years, and it's usually when they do something bad or they get pissed off, they want to quit and I try to tell them, hey, if you're mad at me, prove me wrong, because I want you to.
Yeah.
How do you distill that?
I think I kind of come at it a little bit differently. I'm the same way. Like, I would love to see an element of like chippiness, like that. But I think for me personally, I probably overdid it. I probably I always tell people that they're like, you you play with a chip on your shoulder. I'm like, I play with 2 boulders on my shoulders. And it's hard to turn it on and off, right? You can't, it's hard to be like, walk off the field and be like, oh, I'm just going to be like happy Joe Lucky. Like, no, I'm pissed, like that type of stuff. And for me, it's how I'm wired. But for when I try to teach it, I try to teach like, hey, I'm going to give you really constructive feedback. And for me personally, when I get constructive feedback, high quality constructive feedback from someone who cares about me, it's really a gift. It's hard to do. You have to learn how to do it, but you also have to learn how to take it. And so I'm going to prepare you like, hey, I'm going to give you some constructive feedback. Like, we're watching film. You need to get better. This needs to translate to your performance today. Like, not next week, not next season, like today. Do not make this mistake again. And so I personally think it's a gift when you get that. Like, not everybody has the capacity to give that feedback. Not everybody has the capacity to take that feedback. And you have to learn how to do both. And so, I always tell our players and young players, like, if you're not getting coached, like, the best players want to be coached hard. If you're not being coached by your coach, they've given up on you. That's way worse. Like, that's worse. Like, either the coach doesn't have the capacity to tell you information to make you better, or they just don't care about you anymore. Like, they're on to the next. They've given up. So that's when you're in trouble. When we're not getting all over you and we're not having, high expectations for you, that's when you should be worried.
Yeah, I agree. I would tell my kids, listen, when I'm not saying anything, that's when I'm done. It's almost like the more I get on to you about something, and I don't mean like dog cussing you out or anything like that. I mean, when we're doing a drill or something and it's not exactly right, I'm going to coach you up. When any coach stops doing that, like you said, they've given up.
Yeah. Yeah. But,
right,
and to your point though, I do think especially for young people, some of them have a tendency to turtle. And, like not because they've either never heard it or because they get the full extreme of someone going crazy, F-bomb, embarrassing them. Like, hey, listen, especially for the quarterback. Now, let me be really specific about the quarterback position. I almost will never publicly embarrass or coach the quarterback. I do it off to the side, but I am really, really demanding of that position and the decision making that goes into that position. But I understand the role of that, the decision maker, what it means for the quarterback. And I never used to being like, a coach would go crazy and F-bomb me in the middle of practice. My high school coach occasionally did that. And I would be like, that doesn't help. Like, that's not helping me. Like, all I am now is pissed at you. Like, give me information, like why, what, like that type of stuff. So that's what I try to do. It doesn't all, I'm far from perfect. Let me tell you, that's kind of the mode that I come from.
That is awesome. Now, real quick, before we go to the next one, we have coaches. If you're just joining us, I'm here with JT O'Sullivan. He's got a great channel, YouTube channel, Patreon, Twitter. I'm going to put this in the chat, and we are talking just ball right now. And again, Coach, I appreciate you coming on. And you have Coach Kenneth Martin says, congratulations on your season, JT. Hope we can do 7-on-7 again this summer. I guess you already got fans. How'd your season go?
It was good. We're building. We took over a program that was 1-9 2 years ago. We went 6-6 this year, but I think we're excited about what we're doing offensively for sure. I think we got some strides to make on in all three phases. We're it's supposed to be. We try to make it fun, engaging. We try to play everything as fast as possible from the offensive perspective. The whole system is built to go the fastest football that has ever been played on the planet. So we're moving in that direction. We just need to get better and better and go from there. But we got some legit talented young guys. So I'm pretty excited about our future.
All right. So tempo, you're a huge fan of tempo.
Yeah.
Okay. Why? From a quarterback's perspective, why do you think tempo is good? Or do you think it's good?
I think it's great. It's a huge offensive weapon. And when it's not utilized, it's basically like not having an extra guy in the field. You control the tempo. So our system, everything is meant to go full speed, not like, oh, we go up tempo, we go no huddle. Our tempo is spike the ball tempo. That's the aspiration. So to me, spike the ball tempo is everybody hurries to the line, gets down, and we're going. That's where I want to go. Now, we're not there yet. The system, the foundation is laid for that, and we can get there sometimes, but we can't sustain that pace yet. And so it's a combination of me being a better teacher, us being more demanding, people starting to buy into what we're doing as far as, cardio, as far as spacing, all of those things. But the system is meant to play at spike the ball tempo. Everything is single word. Everything is try to go as fast as we can. Everything is signal. It's not like, I don't know. It's just everything built from the mindset from working backwards from how can we play faster than anyone's ever played for everything that we do, not just like a small little slice of, oh, this is our 2-minute offense, or this is what our hurry up is. Everything is that. That's everything.
I freaking like, so are you trying to get, I'm just trying to use a frame of reference, Baylor fast, or do you want to be faster than Baylor when they went super fast?
We're trying to play, like in your mind, think about like, you're in a 2-minute situation. Your coach tells you spike, which is first of all a terrible play. Terrible play.
We're going to come back to that. I want to get your thoughts on that.
It's terrible. Spike the ball tempo. That's everybody goes up, gets set. They get set wherever usually, and you go that fast. That's how we want to play. So that's the first example of what I give when we do the first day installation. That's where we are aspiring to get to. Now, sure, we pull it back sometimes, sure. But that's not like, oh, how are we going to start the game this week? Is we going to do some stuff? That's what we're doing every week, every drive, every series. That's how we practice. That's how we do every period. That's how we do every team period, 7-on period. And so that's what we want to do. That's how we want to play. And so, we need to work towards that, just because I think it's such a huge weapon for the offense, because you practice like that, you own that, it becomes part of your identity, your culture. You end up like, not only are we going to be fast up to the line of scrimmage and what we're doing, but then we want to play fast. I want fast players. I want people in the weight room trying to get faster. And so all of those things, they can see it and know that, okay, this isn't just jargon. Like, everything translates to what we're doing to make us better players, better ball players.
You're speaking my language, man. I love that. Now, tempo, that means you have to simplify your stuff, correct?
I mean,
or do you get a little bit more complex?
I think the best football is simple football. I think coaches do themselves a disservice if they think, oh, I run this complex system. Well, it might be, it gets too complex really fast, I think, especially to execute it. And so we try to keep everything really, I would love for our players, you'd have to ask our players, but I would hope that they would say, hey, everything is really simple. That would be, if they said that, that means I'm doing a great job teaching. I wish, I was a better teacher so that it looked like it was simple when they run it. We're making some mistakes out there, but it's one of those things where I would much rather be a up-tempo, fast team than as opposed to a team that's going to come up, huddle, get up to the line of scrimmage, shift, motion, all to run inside zone. Like, bro, let's just go. What are we doing? And so that type of stuff for me. And plus, I just think it's such an advantage for maybe we're undersized at the line of scrimmage. Let's get them tired. Let's get them huffing and puffing. Let's get them disoriented. I don't want our quarterback worrying about exotic blitzes or anything bro, we're going so fast, you can't even get a signal. Whatever the coverage is on first down, it's the coverage on second down, third down, the next first down. They don't get a chance to look to the sideline. That's how fast we want to go.
And that makes things, like you said, simple for your quarterback because what the coverages are. You're dictating to the defense instead of having the defense dictate to you.
Exactly. And they can't, the other part about this is, and at least I think, is you can't practice against it. You know what I mean? You can't have your scout team in high school give you a good look on what an up-tempo, crazy fast offense looks like. You just can't. It doesn't exist. And so it's one of those things that it's just a systematic, what can we do as coaches to provide a process and foundation and system that gives us an advantage? And that's one of them that we identified, from early on, hey, this is what we want to do. And plus, it's kind of, honestly, it's a little bit similar to how I approached the YouTube thing. This is what I wish existed when I was growing up. I want to create that. And so this is the system I wish I could play quarterback in.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we threw it more than anybody in San Diego. I'm guessing probably Southern California. We spun every play as a pass play. There is no, I consider an RPO a pass play. And so there's no sweep right. It's all let's get up and go make a decision and put us in a mathematical advantage somewhere and go.
Okay. And I'm glad you said that about practice and how you can't simulate it, because one of the coaches, Coach Jones, he says his challenge has always been getting guys coached up during practice while also trying to go fast. Do you have any tips on that?
Yeah. For us, we try to do practice where we're practicing. We have individual period where it's a little bit more individual coaching, but once we're in kind of our whatever RPO period, screen period, team periods, I want a lot less position coaching coaches, and I want it to be simulated as close to a game as we possibly can. So oftentimes, especially in high school, we do many of our periods just on air. It's not worth it for us to have a scout team out there because they can't get lined up. It distorts our look. I want us to be more tethered to tempo, communication, expectation, as opposed to, what it is from the, an individual coach saying hold up, let's do it again.
Reload.
Our position coaches and coordinators, they know, do not do that. That is not something that's acceptable on the practice field. We coach up in the film room. We coach up in meetings. We coach up in walkthroughs. We coach up in the off season, different tempos in the off season, spring ball. But when we're out there for really what I think is a short amount of time, 90 minutes in the fall, we try to go 90 minutes, book in. And so we do a little 15-minute period before practice that we call opportunity. And that's kind of the opportunity to get better. You get you don't have to be out there. You don't have to be doing anything. It's your opportunity to get with your coach and get better. And that's kind of an extended individual period. And then from there, I want it to be game-like as much as possible and make them uncomfortable as often as possible.
Okay. So do y'all film practice and teach off of that? Or how do you teach once you're off of the practice field?
Yeah. So we film probably only our RPO period or run period. Okay. And then the rest of it, we just try to go as fast as we can. We do a lot more. I I wish I didn't have to spend as much time as I had with certain groups if I was just coaching the quarterbacks or just coaching the perimeter, but I ended up doing a little bit more with the offensive line. So I ended up basically doing a meeting with the perimeter on like a Monday, a meeting with the line of scrimmage on a Tuesday, the whole offense on a Wednesday, kind of a recap perimeter meeting on a Thursday before practice, and then go from there. But I try to instill in our staff, like, we want the practice field to be simulated games. And we actually have a period that we install for probably 90% of our practices called adjustments. And it's basically to simulate what it's like. So if we're doing a team period and we do a team period for 12 minutes, well, at the 6-minute mark, we'll have an adjustments, 2 minutes. And it's supposed to simulate what it's like to come off the field on a series. So you come off the field, you talk to your position coach, you go right back. Like, it's a sudden change, like, go back. We're back on the field and we're going. So I want our players to know to come to the sideline, get coaching, get like that in-between series. Like, okay, what are we going to do next? What's our next play? What are we thinking? What's the next third down call? What are they doing? What can we do different? And then go right back and do it. I want that to translate immediately, and I want them used to that. And so I thought that was a really good period for us. I always thought that the teams that did the adjustments best in a game were some of the hardest teams to beat consistently. And so I wanted to teach that, be intentional. Like, hey, we're going to make adjustments. We might do a protection that we've never done before right now. Like, we're going to, like stuff like, and sure enough, we do it in a game and it doesn't go perfect, but they're used to making the adjustments. It's not like this, like, whoa, this guy's crazy. Like, he never done this before. Like, we talked about making adjustments. We make adjustments every day. Like, this is just what we do.
I like that. So, because there have been times in a game where you're like, okay, and you just start drawing up plays in the dirt because it's going to work if you can pull it off. And sometimes you have kids looking at you like, what's this cat doing? But you're saying you build that into the practice so that when it comes game time, they're not questioning you. They're just going, hey, this happens. We practice for this. We know what we're going to do.
Yeah, I want them to have that kind of adjustment mindset. Like, hey, like, well, I don't pretend to, and I tell them all the time, like, I don't have all the answers. Like, this game plan that I'm going to give you, it's worth probably 35 points. Everything else is up to you, but if it sometimes it might not go great, and so we got to make adjustments. And I don't pretend to have all the answers. I want to, I want feedback from the players. I want to know what they're seeing. I want to know what they're comfortable throwing, all those things. But at the same time, like, we have to know, it's not going to be perfect. Like, that's why I think sometimes, especially when you've been in a program that's been down, people don't necessarily believe, like, hey, we were down many times, multiple touchdowns. Well, our whole system is built to go fast. Like, being down 3 touchdowns means nothing when all you do is go crazy fast. Like, we can score 3 touchdowns, especially we only onside kick too. So, like, all of a sudden, like, that's less than 5 minutes in real time. And so those type of things, but when you don't believe it, when you've never seen it, they have to see it and believe it. And I get it. I'm the same way. Like, some people, when they heard, like, oh, they're never going to punt. Like, oh, this guy, they're crazy. I'm like, hey, I didn't make this up. Like, it's just math. Like, it's about field position. It's all these things. And I try to explain it and go from there. But all these things are built together to kind of give us a chance to be successful as often as possible. Plus, it's just fun. Like, who doesn't want to spin it all the time? Like, yeah.
Okay, so you go the Kevin Kelly route. Onside kicks, do you go for it a lot on 4th down?
We probably punted, besides for the last game, we probably punted. We don't have a punt team. We did probably 2 quick kicks.
Love that.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it easy. There is no decision. We've already made the decision. And sure enough, we probably had a couple backed up 4th downs, like 4th and 20, and we converted 50% of them. I mean, it's just I get it. But I mean, what's the difference in high school? If you punt it, you're backed up on the -5. You punt it 30 yards, they get the ball at the 35, they're still going to score. Like, we want the ball.
Yeah, nothing would piss me off more during games when it's like 4th and 2. I'm like, let's go for it. And they're like, no, we're going to punt it. And we punt it, and it only gets 5 yards.
Right.
There's no difference. Like, why can't we just try it? Just try it. It's the same exact field position.
The other thing about it is, the year before we got there, they had probably 2 punt returns for touchdowns and a kickoff return for touchdown. Well, that doesn't happen anymore. Like, we don't. Yeah. We struggle to make open field tackles. The last thing we want to do is kick it to their best player in the open field. Like,
exactly.
No.
Or the
So
worst, when you're going to punt it to the right, and for some reason everyone's going to the right, and your punter shanks it to the left, and there's no one over there, and you're just like, oh God, why'd we do that?
yeah, in fact, we don't even do punt return. If they're going to give, I just hijacked Kevin Kelly's stuff. It made sense to me intuitively, and go from there.
So what do y'all block it, or do you just make sure they don't do a fake and then everybody runs to the sideline?
They're going to give it to us. We take it.
I hear you, man. I like that.
We didn't get faked once this year. We actually got onside a lot. For some reason, like people decided they're like, oh, you're going to onside, we're going to onside you.
How do you like it, buddy?
We probably weren't prepared for that.
Okay, so you said they were 1-9 before y'all got there, and then this coaching staff. So what was the biggest hurdle? Like, how did you make them believe before the first game?
I don't know. I don't know if they did believe. I think we just tried to instill a process and system that we had success with. Like I would tell them, like, hey, I'm not making up this weight room schedule. This is what I did as a pro, or this is what I did as a student athlete in college. Like, you have to lift weights. You have to do Olympic lifts. You have to have a strength conditioning full-time coach. Like those type of things. Like you can't like sometimes show up for a workout. All those things are things that I'm not sure the level of accountability was always there to begin with. And so, and then the other thing is they have to see you. Like I'm there. I need to be there. I need to be seen. I need to build those relationships, all those things. But I think I did come with a little bit of like idiosyncratic credit where they're like, hey, this dude played at a high level. I tried to bring in coaches that had either played or, for some reason had some connection to the school. And so everything was trying to be intentional to create a great experience for them, just because, in my opinion, you can't have a great experience being 1-9. Like you just can't. Like it's not a good, you might love football, but like that's not a good experience. We wanted to create a great experience. And so we're on the path to building that. We still have a long way to go, but I'm excited about, some of our young players and people believing in it. And I think that they're having fun. That's the other thing about ball. Like I always felt like I played the best when I was having fun. Like I wanted to play with my best friends. I wanted to get after it. I wanted to score points. I wanted to enjoy it. Like those are the most fun things for me. And so just trying to create that system that takes advantage of that is fun and challenging all at the same time.
I agree. And Coach Thomas wanted to know, where did this coaching philosophy come from? I know you touched on it. You wanted fun, and you talked about how this is something you would want to run if you were still playing quarterback, correct?
Yeah. I mean, that's basically the kind of the starting point, besides for the speed of it, but that's tethered to it. Well, that's tethered to playing too. Like when I was in a 2-minute, situation or hurry up, like everything is just cleaner. They can't get exotic on you. They can't move around. They can't, get in there, in the league. They can't get in there crazy sub personnels. They can't be walking around. Exactly where the protection's set. Where you're hot. Like all those things are just cleaner in 2-minute situations and hurry up. And so I was like, well, let's just do that all the time. Like that just makes sense. Like, why would we not do that? And so,
I know,
it's for me, it came from, I got really spoiled coaching. I had great coaches growing up. My high school coach was a longtime coach, and he actually was a quarterback where I went to college. So I ran the same system for 9 years, 4 years of high school, 5 years in the Davis. And so it's a really quarterback friendly system. And there was always coached by quarterbacks. And so I think that perspective of, how do you see it? How do you understand it? How do you teach it? How do you practice it? All those things kind of mold together to try to create kind of the most, successful offense you can create. I just try to cherry pick from some of the best people I was around. It's not like one person was but if I had to say one foundation of it, it would be Davis. Davis has a long history of guys who did it for a really long time. You got draft picks. It would be like Ken O'Brien for the Jets in the 80s. Our Chris Peterson just retired from Washington. He was a quarterback at Davis. A bunch of guys who started Oregon, Bellotti, Aliotti, all those guys are Davis guys. And so Boise State, Oregon, that kind of vibe is what Davis kind of aspired to be back in the day.
Okay. Now I have to ask you really fast, what does your defensive coordinator say? Because I know a lot of coaches say, hey, I want to go tempo, but we always get that have a drive so you can say the defense is tired. How do you combat that?
Well, luckily he's a good friend of mine. We played college ball together. But I told him, and I mean, to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't have taken a job if he wasn't going to do it. Like, we're good friends, and he has a similar philosophical approach to it. And he coached in college ball for 10 years and just got tired of, the same things that most people get tired of, getting fired, moving around, those type of things. And so he's a great asset, and it does strain the defense a little bit. But at the same time, for us, it's this is all built towards winning. Like, I don't necessarily think our best matchup is to try to get in, 32 personnel and run lead and ISO and try to slow the game down and have the, play clock go down to 5 every single time. We play against a bunch of teams that do that. Like, I was shocked that, honestly, like, how many teams want to just slow it down and do that. And to me, not only is it not fun, it's like, it's not the strategically the best way for us to win. We this year had a lot of great perimeter players, or our better players were on the perimeter. So I wanted them in the game as much as possible. I didn't want to muddy everything up and muddle it down into just kind of smash mouth left and right. And plus that, to me, it's just boring as hell. Like, it just really is. Like I know
language.
I know you can win like that, and we got overmatched a few times at the line of scrimmage, and that's just the reality of it. And to a little bit, it's my own fault, as far as ignorance. We spent so much time this first offseason, 7-on-7 is just like a massive thing out here, almost to a detriment. And so we're in there like putting in like all these quarters match things and all these things we think we're going to do. We probably played 2 other teams that throw the ball. Like, I mean, it was such a waste of time as far as preparation. And so we have to get a little bit smarter about how we teach in the offseason and what we focus on. But as far as like defensively, yeah, it puts you in a bind, no doubt about it. I wish we had better numbers so we could kind of have some of our best players maybe play one side of the ball or not. We just don't have the numbers where some of our best guys have to play both ways. So we have to be smart about, those type of things and the reps and the in-game kind of effort and energy. But besides for that, man, we're trying to win. And this year we needed to score to win. I don't know, maybe next year we don't.
Okay, so if you don't have to do that next year, will you go back on your tempo? Is it just this is it?
No, I don't know if we'll ever go back on the tempo and what we do special teams wise, just because I think it's an advantage. I really do. And so we might, if we have somebody who can't spin it, then we're not going to throw it. But we have a number of guys coming back who are talented perimeter players. So it'll be up to me to make sure I find a way to distribute them the ball. But I'm not tethered to we got to throw it, you got to do it. My whole offensive philosophy is I'm trying to get the best player the ball as often as possible, and then when he's tired, I'm going to try to get the second best player the ball. And so I try to teach it. I install plays. It's kind of like, oh, this is middle field open, this is middle field close, this is the read, this is the area you're looking at. But when we're playing or when we're going over the game plan for the week, I'm going, hey, I'm calling this because I'm trying to get this guy the ball. Now, if that guy is covered, do this. To really simplify it, because when you're playing, I think it always helped me from a player perspective to be like, why is he calling this play? Like, is he calling this because he doesn't trust me to do anything else? Is this slant flat? Like, am I just like, are we throwing hitches? Like, is this what we're doing? Or are we trying to take a shot and be intentional with where we're going with the ball? Or is he just so pissed at me that he's calling, a bubble that, I know I can't throw an interception, like things like that. So I just I appreciated the communication. And so that's how I try to teach it. I think sometimes our guy this year, I used to tell him all the time, like, hey, you got to stop playing buddy ball, bro. Like, he would throw it to his best friend, and his best friend wasn't always the guy that I wanted the ball to go to. And so, it's just about the communication, them trusting, but I think it helps to know why. Like, why are you calling this play? Like, I know, oh, this is a progression or this is a whatever. Like, no, why? Where do you want the ball? This is where I want the ball to go. Doesn't mean that it's going to go there every time, and you got to bail me out if it's not there, but this is the intent. And so I just think that helped me as a player, and I hope it helps our players.
Do you find that your players like that, like knowing the why behind the play?
I'll probably ask him on the exit interview this year. We took a few weeks off from seeing each other, and so I circle back next week. We got a little banquet, and I'll circle back with the captains and kind of ask them, what are the things that you liked? What are the things that I need to do better? What are the things you didn't like? And hopefully kind of go from there. But I would think so. I think, just learning from what they had experienced before, I try to always make it feel like, and not that we didn't, like, there were plays where I would bring a whiteboard out there and be like, yo, this is what we're doing right here. Like, this is made up. This is recess. But I try to tell them, like, it's not made up. Like, hey, you've repped this. It might not be the exact same way you've repped it, like, but you've repped this concept on this side and this concept on this side. This is why I want you to go here. This is why I want you to go there. Now, he still has to have the vision and capacity to be able to do it. And he did. But, you know, it's one of those things where we've never walked through this. We've never repped it, but you know the concept. You know what I'm thinking. And so, you know, I think it helps to go from – I just liked it like that. Like, I always hated, like, getting into practice and they'd be like, here's the script. And I'd be like, well, you know, I'm in a huddle, especially in the NFL, like in the preseason, where you're like, I don't even know these cats. Like, I barely know this guy. I don't know if he's good. I don't know if he sucks. I don't know, you know what. Like, who am I trying to get the ball to? Like, the example I always give is when I was in Detroit, it was Calvin Johnson's rookie year. And Calvin held out like the first 2 weeks or something. So I'm running the 2 huddle. He comes into the 2 huddle when he signs his contract, and I get him for a couple preseason games. He's running with the 2s. And Mike Martz was a coordinator at the time, and Mike was great about, this is why the plays, this is what the read is, and it changed all the time. But we got into this game, and he's like, listen, the read is throw it 12 feet high to Calvin. I was like, that's all I wanted to hear. And I think I hit him like 3 times in a row on like little bang posts. And I was like, that's what I like. Thank you. Like, don't make me go back there and like look around and get through a progression with guys that I, you know, don't even know their last name. Like, let me throw it to the guy who's going to be an all-pro.
Yeah, Hall of Famer as well.
Yeah.
All right, so you play in the NFL and everything like that. Now you're teaching 16, 17, 18-year-olds. How do you simplify taking your vast knowledge and simplifying it to help your high school quarterback?
I mean, I don't know how much – I mean, there are elements of it that we don't get into the depths and the nuance about certain plays. Mm-hmm. But as far as simplifying, like, the core elements of it, it's not that complex. Like, it just is. Like, I try to talk to them like adults and as young adults and, like, go from there. I don't dumb it down as far as, you know, we're doing the same drills that I used to do in the league. We're doing the same – we're watching the film the same way. Here's the expectation. You know, it's not – I think the volume of what we do is a little bit thinner. But as far as like, hey, I'm going to keep the secrets for how to throw to myself. Like, no.
Okay. So you say you do the same drills, right? And a couple of coaches have asked in the chat some quarterback drills. Like, what would you say are your top 2 drills that you use or that you do use throughout the season?
For me, geez, I need a glass of water. I'm not used to talking this much. For me, it always starts from the ground up.
Okay.
Right? So we're always working the back of our drop. So I want the back of our drop to be as consistent as possible, no matter what we're throwing. Play action, sprint, move the pocket. When we go to set up, I want that base to be lined up to where our first read is. Okay. So we're always working that. And I never want to see a heel click. I want to see that base, all your cleats in the ground, low, level, and kind of being able to move and throw in the pocket. And so that's really what we focus on every single day. As far as the one drill that I like to do, it's from that pocket. And I stole this from someone, I don't remember who. It's just that you get the big, not medicine balls, but like those big blow-up balls.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Those exercise balls.
Yeah, you just throw it at him. Because my thing is, our guy this year was really athletic. I didn't have to worry about him making throws on the run. Like, we didn't worry about, like, get your shoulders turned, like, do that. And like, no. Like, we talk scramble rules, but I wanted him to be able to move in the pocket, not bail, get through like 1 to 2. You're not going to get to the 4th and 5th read. Just go from 1 to 2 with that base on how you move around, sudden, quick movements, and get the ball out. And so that's really where we were focused.
All right. That's actually a good drill. So there you go. I won't keep you long. I know you're a busy man. You were dropping dimes today before we came on.
I did hit 2 game winners.
That's what I'm talking about. Now, when you shot them and before you hit, did you call game? Did you say game, then shoot it?
They were actually both and ones. So I got.
Did you scream and one?
Yeah, no doubt.
All right. Just Actually, this is just my last question before we go, and we talked about this earlier. You play in the NFL and you play in high school. Is there something you wish you knew, or that you can go back in time and tell yourself when you got to NFL, like, dang, I wish I knew that back in high school, as like a building block or a stepping stone or something? So us high school coaches can, if we are fortunate enough to have an NFL caliber player, we can set him up a little bit.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I mean, to me, it's kind of twofold. So one, it's when you get to the league, so many of those guys are genetic freaks. Like, you don't like, I was 6'1" and 7/8 to the NFL combine. Like, I'm not a big dude compared to an NFL huddle. Most guys, you don't have a chance. I feel like some people who are like, oh, I'm going to be in the league, I'm going to play on Sunday, I'm going to get paid. Like, bro, genetically, it just doesn't exist. And I don't think that I totally got that. Like, there are so many times I can't ever think of, like, most guys I was in the quarterback room were 6'5", 6'6", just like towers. And I know it's changed. Like, those guys, even if you think like, oh, Russell Wilson's kind of he's a small guy. That dude is thick. Like, they're huge. They're just like, genetically, you have to win the lottery. And I think it's hard to understand when you're a young person and you're still growing and you're like, oh, I'm just going to hit the weight room. Like, no, bro, like, straight up, like, you can be as good as you possibly can be, but like, genetically, those people are freaks. And that's just the reality of it. And so I'm not saying, I'm a perfect example. If you can get in there, you can hang on, you can claw and fight for a career and certainly have an opportunity. But I'm telling you, the vast majority of cats are genetic freaks, like legit monsters. And so that part of it, I just didn't know. And then from the quarterback perspective, my thing was that I just always, and this gets back to the YouTube thing, like, I just was always like, I felt at such a disadvantage. Like, I was like, man, this guy is a coach's kid. This guy spins it all the time. He's got all the stats, whatever. Like, how does he know how to throw? And I never got taught the fundamentals of, like, not that there's only one way to do it, but like, this is the core principle. This is why we ask you to carry the ball like this. This is why we want you to have two hands on the ball. This is why we want you to maximize your, your base or your arm action. And I changed my release so many times that I think if I would have had somebody say, like, this is the core principles of what we're trying to do, you need to find what works for you. There is no one way to throw it. Like, yeah, you don't want to be sidearm. Like, yeah, you need to hold it a certain way. But from there, find the best thing for you to be as consistent as possible and go get consistent and go be accurate. That was the thing. Like, once I learned, like, hey, if I'm just accurate on time and make good decisions, I'm a pro quarterback. Like, that's the reality of it. Like, most people can't do it. That's why, once you learn, like, hey, this is my bag. I have a reputation for being a smart guy who come in, learn a system. I can be accurate. I can be coachable. I can be a good teammate. 10 years later, that's the reality of it.
And what I got when you kept talking about that and you keep circling back to it is your why. That is important. And I like that, man. I like that.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right. So, coaches, I dropped all of JT's stuff in the chat. At the end of this video, I'll go back in and put everything in the description. Thank you so much for coming on. I had a blast. We didn't even decide, Coach, I don't think you know this. We talked about talking about other things, and all of a sudden we just got on tempo, and it was like right here. I freaking love tempo too. I like going fast and all of that.
Well, hey, I appreciate your videos. I know when we were putting in our stuff, I watched a handful of the RPO stuff, and we speak a similar language, so it'd be fun to...
That's awesome, man. That is awesome, Coach. I would love to do this again one time if you're up to it.
No doubt.
And coaches, seriously, if you haven't already, talk about your YouTube channel real quick. Go ahead and promote that because it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's called the QB School, and really it's not necessarily for coaches, although coaches are more than welcome to watch it. It's more like what I wish existed when I was a young person and I was just like interested in ball. Like, I just wanted to know things that I didn't have access to. And I was pissed that like certain people would have this great access or had these quarterback gurus or all this coaching. Like, I just wanted to know, like, what's the real like tricks of the trade? Like how can I find out all these things? And like, I think once you get that, like, you have access to the information, it's interesting. I try to make it interesting. I try to basically just find things that I think are interesting and talk about them and really just go from there. And I enjoy it. And it's just this little opportunity for me to give back to the game and kind of interact with people, because it's fun to see, like, it's a handful of like international fans that are learning the game. It's a handful of people who are legit diehards that probably know a lot more about ball than I do. And it's a part of people that just like to be entertained. And so trying to mix all those audiences together it's a lot of fun for me. I really enjoy it.
And it is unbelievable. You're one of the few channels that I click that bell notification. So
appreciate it.
It pops up. Yeah, I see it always happens around my lunch. So that it pops up on my phone and I'm like, okay, I know what I'm watching when I while I eat lunch. And you were actually going live on Monday, this Monday?
Monday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, as long as my technology holds up.
Okay. Well, I will definitely tweet that out. I will link your live in the description once you're done. And coaches, thank y'all for joining us. It is championship weekend. If you're watching this later on, I'm sorry. Real quick, if you just had to pick one game, I don't know. Do you watch more college than NFL or NFL than college?
This year, I watched a lot of high school.
Really? Okay, I can understand that.
No, I watched well, out here we get West Coast bias, try to keep up with y'all. So I did the Pac-12 thing last night and bummed out a little bit by Utah. But no, I try to watch good football. Like my mother-in-law went to Auburn, so we're still recovering from last week. So.
All right. So if you just had to pick one, not excluding the Utah game, which game are you excited about either following or watching or catching the recap later on today?
Today, I'll be honest with you, we're going to the zoo.
Oh, nice.
I'm playing. My wife's out of town this week, so as soon as I'm done with this, click and close, and we're heading over to the San Diego Zoo. So y'all ever in San Diego, I highly recommend.
I'm jealous. That's a phenomenal zoo. We go to Riverbank in South Carolina. All right. Well, hey, have fun at the zoo, and I'll talk to you later, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right. See you later, coaches.